Hi, Pumpkin. It's me, your dad. It's volume 6 of my reasonable fatherly advice for you as time goes on. And today we're going to talk about how to deal with mean people. Now, this will probably be the first of several videos on that topic because it's a pretty big topic out there. But I just want to kind of start it off with some basic strategies on why people are mean, how, what to do, how to react a little bit, um, because it's nuanced. It's not as easy as you think. So, believe it or not, sadly enough, not everyone in life is going to like you. Not everyone likes me, which I know. Can you believe that? People who don't like me are crazy, right? But people aren't going to like you, and you can't help the reasons sometimes. In fact, most times, it has nothing to do with you. It has way more to do with them than it does to you. But they don't like how you look, how you talk, how you dress, whatever. And they're just not nice. I want you to stay who you are because it's easy to kind of like, well, around this person, I have to do that. Or if I do this, they won't get mad. Like, I don't want you walking on eggshells around anyone. So stay who you are and stay like a nice person because you are a nice person. Stay that person. Um, like I said, a lot of this has nothing to do with you and how you know the person is going to dictate how you react to them. So the world sadly is full of people who aren't so nice, and some of them you can just walk away from. Some of them you don't need to ever talk to again. But some are your teachers or your bosses eventually, or your coworkers that you can't get rid of, or your friends' parents, or whoever you end up with, their parents or family, and it's tough because you have to kind of develop a strategy on how to deal with them. Now, obviously, if you can leave, that's the first cool one. So people are going to yell at you and scream at you, be mean to you. If it's some person with mental health issues outside of a Starbucks is panhandling, it's nice and easy just to go, okay, bye, and remove yourself from the situation. But you can't do that all the time in life. So how do you do, when your teacher's mean or and by mean, I mean just because there's confusion with that. Everyone confuses. Sometimes I'm telling you stuff you don't want to hear with being mean, and that's not true. If I'm giving you legit feedback because you're not doing something right or I think you'd be doing something better, that's not mean. That's life. And there people generally tell you that not because they are mean, because they care about you enough to tell you, hey, I don't like when you act like this or when you say things like this or when you do stuff like that because it hurts me and here's how. That's wildly different than just being mean because I don't like how you do your hair or I don't like your outfit or I don't like the sound of your voice or you do something that I can make fun of. There's a huge difference between critique and being mean. Now, you can kind of intermingle the two, and it's a fine line at times, but I think as time goes on, you're going to figure that out. So, the best thing for you to do, and the best thing in my experience, and again, I spent an entire career, I spent the greater part of the last 3 decades being screamed at by people who know nothing about what I do, who don't know me from Adam, but who put on all these here, they assert all these feelings I have, all these thoughts I have, and they assign um, what is it? They assign thoughts to you that aren't true, and it's not fair. But life's not fair, and what are you going to do? It's like, well, you think this, and you're this, and you're that. Because like, hey, that's not true at all. And having sometimes a discussion on that with people isn't going to work because you're not going to be able to convince them, especially if they're in an emotional state. You're not going to be able to convince them you're otherwise. Now, I don't like to assign motives to anybody. I know as humans that's hard because they did this because of that. That's really easy to do. But I also don't like when people assign motives to me. So the easiest thing when people are being mean or something to you is to try to stay calm, and you do that by combat breathing, which I think we talked about in another video. Where you slowly inhale through your nose, hold it for a couple of seconds, maybe 3. Exhale through your mouth. Count to 3, hold it for 3, and then do that a couple more times. That's going to keep you going into a fight or flight response. That's going to keep you from going to tunnel vision. It does a lot of neat physiological things for you. So you're going to keep your wits about you and not just kind of go, because that's what the person wants. They want you on the same emotional level as they are. And when you're not, when they're just screaming at you and you're like, okay, well, what's really going on? Is smile a bit and try to just talk in the same nice level. Talk, okay, I understand you're upset. Okay, what are you upset about? What's going on? As opposed to, well, blah, 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 blah. Because fighting back is, I get it. It's natural in the moment. Sometimes it actually feels good. but it really doesn't achieve anything. Now, if it's somebody you don't know or don't care about, I guess maybe it's okay. But if it's someone in a position of authority, like a teacher or a boss, that you're stuck with, you're way better off trying to develop a better relationship by dealing with them in a mature and calm, put together manner, a thoughtful manner. Uh, don't relent. Sometimes you are wrong. And if you're wrong, oh, okay, I could, or even if you disagree, like, okay, I don't, that's not how I intended that. I guess I could see how you would take it as that, and that's not what I intended. And you can apologize when necessary, but don't be overly apologetic, especially when people are trying to put you in a corner for things that you don't think, you didn't mean, and you didn't do. Um, I don't want to say don't relent completely, because there is a time if you're wrong to say, hey, you know what, you're right. That was cruddy. I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have said that, and I didn't mean that, and I'm sorry. There's a time for that, but it's not all the time. So you'll have to consider that in the moment. Don't let people get too close to you. And I don't like this. A lot of times people get all emotional and all crazy, and they get closer and closer and closer. And they get right nose to nose with you. Well, if people are close enough that you can smell their breath and feel their spit come out your face, they're too close. Either you need to step back and get out, or you need to take physical action to move them away. And that's a completely different video. But when you're that close and that heated of an environment, again, a lot of experience with this, assault is pending. And things can go very ugly very quickly. And sometimes you want to move even closer to show them I'm not going to back up. And that may not be the most tactically sound thing to do. And I'm not here to teach you how to fight in a video, but there is a time for that to defend yourself. And this may be one of those times. Don't tell them, yelling at people is not effective. Don't tell people, calm down. That's not effective. You might as well pour gasoline on the fire. Tell people to calm yourself or anything like that. It makes people even wilder. Continue to talk in the same calm voice. And you can take corrective action like, hey, I don't like when you talk to me like this. Why are you talking to me like this? Why are you so loud? What did I, and kind of go through like, well, what are you really upset about? What are you trying to tell me? If you talk in the same kind of concerted, nice tone, I can't even talk, tone, it kind of puts people aback a little bit, and hopefully will get them to think a little bit. It's also nice to look around a little bit to see if there's other people there, if there's other witnesses in case it's going to go bad. Sometimes that helps because people will get the feeling like, oh, I'm in public and I shouldn't be doing this. And sometimes it pours gasoline on the fire. Like, oh, well, now you're looking around and people are going to start videotaping you or God only knows what with their stupid cameras. That could be a double-edged sword as well, but know that that's out there. But see what you can do, especially with the long-term things to make it work. Like, okay, and kind of like, okay, what can I do to solve our problem right now? Because if you're full of hatred for me for a bunch of things and you've been mad at me for 2 years, I don't want to go back and argue everything you've been mad at me for. What happened today? What happened just now? How can we fix this? And how can we move on to, and whatever it is we're going to move on to, whether we're going to continue in the lesson, we're going to go back to work, whatever. Don't let yourself be bullied, though, because there's a lot of people who will slowly kind of be mean to you, and you think they're friends, and they hang out a lot. When you're not, they're nice, it's great. But when they're mean, they're just vicious and brutal, and think, hang around people who are good to you. Hang around people who are good for you. And you'll know that by how they make you feel. And, okay, do I feel good when I leave? And even if we're given bad feedback, like, hey, I don't like how you're doing your hair like this. I think that looks terrible. Or, hey, I don't like how you're talking to people. I don't like how you're acting. I don't like how you're suddenly dressing. Whatever it is they want to, and people will critique you for everything. That's what we do as Americans. We just talk smack about each other endlessly. People will do that. But if it's well-intended and like, hey, look, I don't like this and here's why, okay, at least you can have a talk about it as opposed to, oh, you're doing this and you're that now. Or you think that, or you support this, so and you're that. We're very big on that now because we're so divided politically that if you think something different than anyone else, you're the worst person that's ever lived. And you're not going to talk to those people rationally. And it's like, okay, hey. At some point, it's almost worth, hey, thanks. You've shown me who you really are. You're truly not my friend. And I can just kind of kick you out of my life. But for the people you're kind of stuck with, it's think long-term, play long ball, do your best. Defend yourself as necessary, whether it be physically, hopefully not, or verbally. Just when you do so in a calm manner. Because if you're screaming back, it's not a good look for you, and it's not effective. Whereas if you're calmly saying, no, no, that's not what I intended, that's not what I did, wildly different. But sadly, there's a lot of mean people in the world. Thank God you're not one of them. I'm not one of them. And I think I'm going to end it here on that note. I'll do a couple more videos on that because people are difficult to deal with, and especially in public. And people, when they're up in their emotions, or if they've had a couple of drinks, or they're under the influence of something else, things can go really weird. So I love you. I think you're great. You look fantastic today. I wish I was there and I could hug you. I hope you're well, and I hope these talks are of value to you. So goodbye, Pumpkin.